In order to improve our health, we have to address all the items in the cycle of illness that affects our immune system and DNA expression. In this video, we're going to be discussing how to improve or heal histamine issues. Histamine is an organic nitrogen compound involved in local immune responses, as well as regulating physiological function in the gut and acting as a neurotransmitter for the brain, spinal cord, and uterus. Histamine is involved in the inflammatory response and has a central role as a mediator of itching. Histamine is stored primarily in the mast cells and basophils. It's released in response to tissue damage caused by injury, infection, or allergens. Certain enzymes like diamine oxidase, DAO, and histamine and methyltransferase, HNMT, break down histamine in the body. Here in this slide, you can see that SAMe helps support HNMT, and iron, B12, B6, copper, and vitamin C help support DAO. Shortages of these nutrients diminish our DAO and HNMT levels and can significantly hamper your ability to break down histamine in the body. Mast cells, along with basophils, release histamine in response to allergens, injuries, or infections. If there is an insufficient DAO and HNMT enzymes, it can increase allergy-type responses. However, if adding high histamine foods on top of that, it can cause histamine overload and a slew of symptoms. So let's take a look at histamine, what affects it, and how to fix it. There are many factors that play into histamine issues in the body. Leaky gut is a big player and can be caused or made worse with the overuse of antibiotics and steroids, along with eating foods you're allergic to, gluten, and many others. Nutrient deficiencies are another factor, and we'll be getting into that later on in this video. Poor diet is notorious for causing histamine issues. Eating processed foods and junk food increases histamine because it's filled with chemicals, food colors, preservatives, and all of that increases or has histamine-inducing ingredients. There are even natural foods that are high in histamine, or they have antibiotics or hormones added to them, and all of these will affect your health. There are also genetic factors that come into play. Some genetic mutations affect our DAO and HNMT levels. And remember, DAO and HNMT help neutralize histamine in the body. The MTR, MTRR, AHCY, COMT, and MTHFR gene mutations also play a part in histamine because these genes are essential for proper methylation. These genetic mutations affect our methylation cycles, which directly impairs our body's ability to naturally detox. A COMT mutation affects how we deal with stress. So if you have a COMT genetic mutation, chances are your body doesn't tolerate stress as well as it should, and that helps raise our histamine levels. And seeing that stress completely shuts down the immune system, it can have a cascading effect. Socioeconomic factors also play a part. Discount stores or stores in poorer regions have been found to statistically have older and lower quality fruit and vegetables filled with GMOs and pesticides, whereas those in higher end communities tend to have more access to higher quality, fresher, organic fruits and vegetables. Plus, fresher organic fruits and vegetables tend to be quite a bit more expensive. Environmental factors also play a part. Pesticides and other chemicals have completely invaded our environment and are impossible to avoid. Environmental allergens like pollens, ragweed, hay, etc. can have a big impact on those histamine levels as well. Small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or SIBO, is also known for making histamine problems worse. Bacteria and yeast sit in your gut producing air, and it causes a sort of fermenting, causing more of a problem. Both SIBO and gluten can cause further damage to your gut, and gluten can actually lower your DAO levels in the gut if you're gluten intolerant. Medications. NSAIDs and other pain medications and antibiotics all affect how your immune system works and how well your gut works. NSAIDs lower your DAO in the gut. Pain medications actually liberate histamine, and antibiotics not only kill the bad bacteria in the body, but also the good bacteria, which can lead to an imbalance of flora in the gut causing a histamine issue. These drugs have been known to also cause some damage to the gut. NSAIDs have been shown to cause a drug-related hypersensitivity, which causes immune responses and generates histamine. Heavy metal toxicity is also a big player in affecting your histamine levels. There are many vitamins, supplements, medications, and bread that have been found to have free radicals in them like iron. Chronic inflammatory response, or CIRS, can also have a big impact on your histamine levels. CIRS is the result of chronic inflammation produced by exposure to biotoxins, toxins produced by living organisms like mold, which are called mycotoxins, tick-borne infections, certain algae, especially something like red tide, some reef fish, and the brown recluse spider. However, the majority of triggers for CIRS comes from a combination of mycotoxins, bacteria, VOCs, which are volatile organic compounds like vapors or gases, haptens, and other damaging pathogens. Others are antibiotics, poor methylation in the liver, and alcohol and drugs can actually make this worse, steroids, and methylation impairments. There are currently 4 known histamine receptors, H1 through H4, and it is suspected that there may be more. We've only actually just recently discovered the H4. Here I've listed the locations to each receptor in the central nervous system and other locations in the body. You may want to pause the video to review the chart. There are also many histamine receptors in the brain as well. Triggering these histamine receptors can trigger a cascading effect of symptoms like vertigo, insomnia, anxiety, circadian rhythm issues, and your circadian rhythm dictates your sleep schedule, as well as your methylation cycles, migraines, headaches, feelings of your brain or parts of your brain on fire, temporary paralysis, vision issues, memory issues, ringing in the ears, POTS, laughing fits, crying fits, depression, bipolar symptoms, irritability, and can even cause some types of tachycardia or arrhythmia. There is one thing in particular I'd like to show you though. It may answer some of your questions about a particular but common symptom. You'll notice the H3 receptors that are coming down from the brain into the brainstem, which is part of your central nervous system. There is a particular symptom that most of us suffer with. That's the headaches and migraines, with stiffening and pain in the neck, which can spread through your spine and back. Those are your H3 receptors being triggered, causing that stiffening and the pain of the neck spine muscles, which can lead to extreme migraines. Many, to most people with autoimmune conditions and mast cell issues experience this symptom. And H1 antihistamine can actually trigger your H3 receptors, making that pain worse. So it's important that when you start feeling the effects of these symptoms to address it with an H3 antihistamine. Treating H3 receptors have also been identified as an attractive treatment of cognitive disorders. Histamine receptors in the brain and their side effects is a very vast subject, and it would be impossible for me to go into each and every one of them based on location in this video. However, I did want to address for you some of the most common ones to help answer some of your frequently asked questions and concerns. Histamine affects every organ of the system: neurological, cardiovascular, musculoskeletal, gastrointestinal, the reproductive system, respiratory function, and the skin or cutaneous. There are many triggers and it can vary from person to person. So, how do we fix it? It can be healed by addressing these 7 steps. The very first step is to support our DAO production. I actually created a video of a science experiment on how DAO works, and you can find that video in the comments below. DAO and HNMT actually neutralize histamine inside of your body. DAO is mainly found in the gastrointestinal tract, primarily in the small intestines, ascending colon, placenta, and kidneys. However, during some recent research, it's been discovered that DAO is actually also supposed to be present in the brain. A lack of DAO in the brain has been linked to MS, which is due to histamine buildup. In my research paper, I talk about how histamine in the brain can cause multiple symptoms and medical conditions like MS, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, migraines, and neurological symptoms. Because remember, histamine is a neurotransmitter. Histamine can actually be produced in the brain by certain glands, and you can develop a quote-unquote leaky blood-brain barrier as well. In fact, histamine, either in excess or lack of, in the brain and gut play a big part in neurological disorders, degeneration, and mental illness. So DAO is primarily used to neutralize histamine inside of the gut and outside of the cells of the body. HNMT, on the other hand, neutralizes or decomposes histamine inside of the cells and can be found in a wide variety of organs. The greatest expression is found in the kidney and liver, spleen, colon, prostate, ovaries, spinal cells, bronchi, and trachea. HNMT is broken down by methylated products. But it is important to know that HNMT is an actual gene and an enzyme. The gene directs the enzyme. I have two genes listed here that affect your ability to produce the HNMT enzyme. In order to support your production of DAO, you need to make sure your vitamin C, B6, and copper are at good levels or increased. However, it is important that you get your vitamin C from non-citrus foods because citrus contains citric acid. And citric acid is a hapten which triggers us. And we'll be discussing haptens in detail in the next video, and I have a research paper completed for it. Another nutrient that can help is L-theanine. It's an amino acid that is found in certain green and black teas, which can help to inhibit the release of histamine and inflammatory agents from mast cells. So the benefit of L-theanine is that it suppresses histamine being released from the mast cells from building up to harmful levels in your body, even those that have reduced DAO activity. L-theanine can also inhibit stress by blocking the glutamate receptors. So impaired DAO levels leads to histamine buildup, which then increases your glutamate levels, which then triggers a major response. And L-theanine works by preventing both histamine release, and it also blocks glutamate activity as well. There is actually an indirect link between histamine, DAO, and glutamate, and L-theanine can be a powerful tool to help you on your path of healing. However, you need to be sure to discuss taking this supplement with your doctor beforehand, as it can affect blood pressure meds, chemotherapy, and can have side effects of severe upset stomach if you overdose on the supplement. Another way that you can get L-theanine is by drinking green or black tea. However, only steep it a couple of times briefly because green and black tea also has ingredients that can further lower your DAO levels. But if you just steep it briefly, you're usually okay. If you can tolerate the supplement, be sure to take it on an empty stomach so it can cross into the blood-brain barrier. Estrogen and pregnancy also play a big part in our DAO levels. DAO levels actually skyrocket during pregnancy, and DAO levels drop drastically during menstruation, ovulation, and a couple days before you start your menses. This is why so many women suffer from a wide variety of symptoms during their menstrual cycle, ovulation, and a couple days beforehand. Their histamine levels are higher, and there's much less DAO in the body. Let's take a brief look at this for the women, because it's taken me over a decade to completely figure this out, and it should help answer many of your questions. You see, all the symptoms we face, the sore chest, cramps, painful periods, bloating, swelling, migraines, brain fog, extreme fatigue, that's all due to higher histamine levels in the body. If you have methylation issues or mast cell issues, it can also make these symptoms worse. Estrogen is a major trigger for mast cells, and mast cells release histamine. The uterus is a major location mature mast cells like to live, and mast cells and histamine contribute to muscle constriction. So this means that it can make your cramping much worse, and that cramping can be intermittent. It can also cause endometriosis, fibroids, fertility issues, etc. From experience, we know high levels of histamine can cause severe fatigue and bloating in the body. If DAO is supposed to neutralize histamine in the gut and the body, because it drops drastically during menstruation, histamine winds up free-floating throughout the body. Enter the lymphatic system. So the immune system, especially the lymphatic system, then kicks in and starts trying to clear it out. When these levels get too high, you'll notice that a lot of the areas where the lymphatic system is also where we experience pain. The groin, legs, armpits, side of the breast, etc. And yes, hormones can cause tender breasts as well, but if you'll notice, a lot of the symptoms we may experience tend to also coincide with the nodes to the lymphatic system. But this part can hold true anytime we have histamine overload, not just necessarily during menses. But I wanted to point out that this can make our menstrual cycle symptoms worse. So all those hormone issues women suffer with on a monthly basis, it's due to the rapid drop in DAO in the body and the inability to neutralize histamine. Your body is basically either having a small immune response or a big one. If you're already a person that doesn't produce as much DAO or has methylation issues, your monthly cycle will feel more severe than someone who has normal DAO levels or proper methylation cycles. So yeah, DAO and histamine can determine the severity of our monthly cycles and be masked as a hormonal imbalance. Our symptoms are just not limited to hormonal fluctuations during our cycles. Now, during pregnancy, however, our DAO levels shoot up high, and they stay high throughout the duration of the pregnancy. And in my opinion, this is why so many chronic illnesses tend to go dormant during pregnancy. Step 2. Supplemental DAO. Besides making sure our vitamin C, B6, and copper levels are good, we can also supplement our DAO. However, this is only a short-term fix and it's for the gut only. Taking a DAO supplement will not raise the DAO levels in your body and in your brain. During digestion, our gut produces histamine to break down food. If we have a damaged gut, leaky gut, or don't have enough DAO, that histamine in our gut builds up, it causes bloating, and will eventually be absorbed or leak into the rest of our body. Taking a DAO supplement can be very beneficial. Taking it 15 minutes before eating can help neutralize that excess histamine in our guts and help reduce our symptoms. DAO is primarily produced in the kidney, and taking freeze-dried ground-up kidney can really increase our DAO levels temporarily. DAO is also produced in the liver. However, nowadays, due to all the chemicals, antibiotics, hormones, and toxins, it's really no longer safe to eat liver. Remember, your liver filters your entire volume of blood approximately 7 times an hour, pulling out all those toxins in it. These toxins can wind up getting stored in the liver, and the last thing you want to do is eat that. If you do take the liver route, you need to make sure that it was grass-fed, organic, antibiotic, and hormone-free. If you can get it in the form of liverwurst because it contains ground-up kidney and liver, you'll need to watch out for nitrates and nitrites. So far, I haven't found a safe version here in the United States. I've listed here a few options that you can use for DAO supplementation. Step 3. Support your methylation. Another way to reduce and heal histamine is to support your methylation. Methylation is ridiculously important to clearing histamine out of your system. So where DAO is more important inside of the gut and outside of the cells, methylation is extremely important inside of your cells. Certain cells of the immune system, like your mast cells and basophils, they carry histamine, and they're likely to release histamine, contributing to your overall histamine load. But you can actually reduce the amount of histamine they're carrying by supporting your methylation cycles. Now, we'll be talking about methylation in great detail in the next couple of videos, but you can actually read more about it by checking out the research on www.mastoqueen.com, Methylation Parts 1, 2, and 3. But in general, exercise, diet, and regular sleeping habits are all very important to supporting your methylation. Methylation follows your circadian rhythm, so you need to make sure that you have a regular sleep schedule and are getting plenty of sleep at night. There are also supplements that contain vitamins and nutrients that you can take that will help support your methylation. Vitamin B2 or riboflavin, vitamin B6, methylfolate, vitamin B12 as methylcobalamin, N-acetylcysteine, which is NAC, zinc, trimethylglycine, choline, and serine. These can be extremely beneficial in helping you on your path to healing. Step 4. Mast cell control. Controlling your mast cells will actually help reduce the amount of histamine free floating in the body. Many mast cell issues are caused by nutritional deficiencies like selenium, vitamin A, and zinc. And this is why so many of us say elimination doesn't heal, nutrition does, especially selenium, vitamin A, and zinc. You can help control mast cells by addressing inflammatory disorders and diseases because inflammation is notorious for calling in more mast cells, which then releases more histamine. You need to address infections. You need to treat any infections that you may have. You also need to reduce your stress. You would be surprised at just how much stress affects your immune system and mast cell activation. You need to be sure that you're getting plenty of sleep because, again, this affects your methylation cycles, and your methylation cycles help clear out that histamine in your body. And you also want to talk to your doctor and make sure you don't have any heavy metal toxicities. And you want to be sure to address heavy metal toxicity and get rid of it if you do. There are many supplements that you can take to help control mast cells. However, it's always safer and better for you to try to get it from your diet. If it's still not enough, you can supplement with some of these, but I need you to understand that you may have to do some trial and error in order to figure out which ones work best for you, because what works for one person may not work for another person with horrible results. Foods and supplements that help stabilize mast cells are selenium, vitamin C, vitamin A, zinc, moringa, N-acetyl-L-cysteine, because this one also works as an antihistamine. Olive oil. Olive oil works really well as long as you're not sensitive to oxalates. All you have to do is slather it on your skin and let it soak in. Peppermint can be hit or miss for some folks, but it's important not to take it before bed, otherwise you loosen what I call, quote-unquote, the flapper. It's a valve in the stomach that prevents stomach acid from coming up into your esophagus. If you take too much or have it too close to bed, it loosens that valve and the stomach acid comes up while you're sleeping, causing horrible heartburn. Bromelain is another natural mast cell stabilizer, but it also lowers your DAO levels, so you'll want to use caution on that one. Stinging nettle is also a good one, and it's found in some DAO supplements. Elderberry crystals, and quercetin. Oh, quercetin. We are going to talk about quercetin next. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about quercetin. Many folks take quercetin, and it's a very popular supplement for those with mast cell issues or histamine issues. But I cannot stress enough the importance of getting it from your food versus taking supplements. I know it can be very helpful in stabilizing mast cells, but it can be quite damaging to the body in a supplemental pill form. Due to its high-powered antioxidant strength, it can actually contribute to liver toxification and failure, kidney burnout, and even contribute to further DNA damage, other autoimmune issues, and even cancer. There's a lot of conjecture as to what's safe and when it becomes harmful. So this is why I can't stress enough as to why it's so important to get it from your food instead. I posted a large chart of foods high in quercetin in my histamine research paper, and you can find that on my website. Before starting a quercetin supplement, be sure to do a search on the internet about the benefits and the side effects of how it will interact with your particular medications. It can lessen the effectiveness of certain medications, so please consult your doctor before using it. The University of Maryland and the University of Berkeley have been researching quercetin, and they actually recommend people avoiding this flavanol, especially those who are pregnant, breastfeeding, and those with kidney disease. Because our livers are the hardest hit with our medical conditions, the capability of quercetin causing liver toxicity is higher. The Linus Pauling Institute has also shown it to inhibit multi-drug resistance protein. Basically, it can affect the transport of many drugs, including anti-cancer drugs. So if you choose to take a quercetin supplement, please take it in much smaller doses and spread it out throughout the day. but 500 milligrams seems to be the daily amount needed before people saw positive effects in controlling their mast cells. Step 5. Histamine in your diet. This is one of the most important things to address. Histamine can be increased by eating the wrong diet rich in chemicals, hormones, preservatives, etc. Everything packaged, processed, canned, boxed, and bottled, along with a plethora of natural foods, are high in histamine. We absolutely must go to a low histamine organic diet. Whole foods are the only way to go if you have histamine issues. With that being said, some folks have experienced extreme discomfort when trying to switch to a healthier diet. This is in part due to the fact that there's a diet change that the body has to get used to. The natural foods themselves could be high in histamine, or a big part of it is most likely due to small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or SIBO. Fruits and vegetables support and grow healthy bacteria. However, if you have SIBO, this can make symptoms worse because you already have too much bacteria in your intestinal tract. With that being said, continuing to eat the bad foods may seem more comfortable to you because your body has built up some tolerance to it. Not to mention, you're also feeding that unhealthy balance of gut bacteria, which it actually wants, but it doesn't stop your immune system and body from reacting to it and causing further damage to your intestines and body. On a side note, the reason this happens is because with SIBO and leaky gut, the immune system attacks your body's healthy tissues instead of the invaders because they look identical. This is called molecular mimicry. Your immune system gets confused and goes after the healthy tissues and the foreign intruders, which ultimately results in autoimmune conditions or autoimmune symptoms. There is a period of detoxing and adjustment that is required. The best way to navigate that is to go on a liquid or strict water diet a couple days to let it quiet down first. Those with SIBO will have to address this issue and heal it as well. To help you navigate the foods that can increase histamine issues, there are several apps you can download that are a great guide to get you started. These can help you figure out what you can and cannot tolerate. The Swiss Interest Group has put together a 19-page document listing all the foods you could possibly think of. They categorize the foods into high histamine, other biogenic amines, which cause histamine issues, liberators of mast cells, and blockers of DAO. This can be especially helpful if you're just starting out and don't know where to begin and help you get started on your path of healing. If you'd like a copy, you'll have to message me personally because I'll have to email it to you as I cannot get the 19-page document to post on any of my sites. Once you get your symptoms down to 0, you can retest your tolerance by adding one thing in back at a time. Step 6. Alcohol and drugs. All alcohol and street drugs will affect histamine in the body and your ability to clear it out of your system. Oftentimes, drinking or smoking can be the final straw that broke the camel's back, making it more difficult to recover. However, there are pharmaceutical drugs that also play a part in affecting your histamine levels. If you already have a histamine issue, be sure to talk to your doctor. Also, you could speak to a pharmacist or anesthesiologist, as they are the most knowledgeable about the drugs, in order to find out if any of the drugs you're taking can increase your histamine levels, liberate mast cells, or lower your DAO levels. The last and final step, step 7, fixing the gut. I cannot stress how important this step is. Having leaky gut or other inflammation or injury to the intestines can cause your gut to produce even less DAO. The individual cells in the tissue lining of your intestinal tract are what keeps producing DAO for your gut during digestion. If those cells become damaged, they cannot make DAO, thus increasing your histamine burden and overall mast cell responses. Plus, having a leaky gut allows food particles to enter into the bloodstream, triggering autoimmune responses and more mast cell or histamine issues. Additionally, when the gut becomes badly damaged, it doesn't move food through your intestines as well as it should. It drastically slows down. And because of this, the food starts to ferment inside of your intestinal tract, and this process will drastically raise your histamine levels, cause further damage to the gut lining, and can create infections, pockets in the intestines, which can lead to other problems down the road, or bacterial overgrowth. Healing the gut is one of the most important steps that you can take in lowering your histamine levels and helping to control mast cell reactions. Initially, going on a fasting water diet for a few days will help quiet down the inflammation and pain so that you can start doing what you need to do to start the healing process. And there are several ways that you can do this. L-glutamine is an extremely beneficial and necessary amino acid for helping to restore, heal, and maintain the lining of your gut. Bone broth is also very good at healing properties due to its collagen content. However, both collagen and bone broth may not be well tolerated by specifically mast cell patients or histamine intolerance patients because it does increase histamine levels or lowers your DAO levels. Taking a DAO supplement may be extremely beneficial with this, but for some it may not be enough to help you tolerate it. It just depends on your individual chemistry. Slippery elm marshmallow root powder can help soothe and protect the digestive tract, creating a barrier, much like how Pepto-Bismol and those types of things, they create that barrier to help protect the lining. These roots can also be very helpful for alleviating pain in the bladder and healing interstitial cystitis. Licorice root powder and histamine-reducing probiotics can also be a great tool in your arsenal. I have a picture of histamine-lowering probiotics in the lower right-hand corner, and so far that's been the best one that I have found. However, if you have a bacterial overgrowth, taking probiotics can make your symptoms seem worse. Remember, we need a healthy balance of good-bad bacteria, and taking too many probiotics or having too much in the gut already can lead to a further imbalance. Most people don't realize this, but eating a diet rich in fruits and vegetables actually helps stimulate and promotes healthy bacteria in your gut. And so therefore, if you're taking a probiotic on top of it, it can create an overgrowth and cause a whole lot more symptoms for you. Leaky Gut Revive is also a good product that I have used, and it has many of the ingredients listed above in it, but it's specifically geared for those with histamine or mast cell issues, minus the collagen and the bone broth. And last but not least, the absolute simplest and easiest step for you to implement is drinking plenty of water. Histamine is water soluble, so drinking water throughout the day will help keep your histamine levels lower. And if you're having a histamine attack, drinking water can help dilute it and flush it out of your system faster. For more information on histamine and how it works, please see my research paper where I go into great detail on how histamine can affect your body and how certain symptoms that you may not normally realize are all related to histamine. I'll post the link to the paper in the comments below. And please stay tuned. As we continue our journey on exploring the cycle of illness, the next item of topic is going to be inflammation, and we're going to be going over the triggers of inflammation, what to do about them, and how to heal them.